right. Wow, welcome, Paradigm Shifters. It is May 18th, 2021. Let's take a deep breath into this day. This beautiful Transformation Tuesday, and we get to live it however it is we would choose. And thank you for spending this time today. And right now, and I know every week we go like this upgrade, we're at 985. Going strong, and knowing that we're dedicated, like we're a global community. There's 26 countries now, global community dedicated to shift and uplift. And I am so thrilled and honored today to have us our presenter today, a great friend of mine for I think maybe well over 20 years, right, Caroline?
Yeah, long time.
I mean, and I've watched Caroline and her family just shift, grow, shift, grow, shift, grow. And I'm like, there's something there called personal inventory. And when I was looking at like May, I'm like, and all the different changes now, like we're opening up, we're doing this, like, okay, where are we currently? And who can give us tools to help us, to help us not figure it out, because I don't know about you, but when I say figure it out, tomorrow it changes. So, and of course, I thought of my friend Caroline Pratt. And anyway, I'm going to turn this over to you, Caroline. And yeah, welcome to Paradigm Shifters. We're so grateful that you're here. Oh, one more thing. Grab a pen and paper, because this is something that is not going to be up here. These are actual tools and why and all that other stuff. But get paper and pencil, because there's going to be so many nuggets. I know I never have been around Caroline where I've never gotten those aha nuggets. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to you, Caroline. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for this idea. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I'm humbled, and it's who would have ever thought inventory could be something to talk about. But I guess I've spent a lot of time on it, and with COVID, so many things have happened that have really, it's been like the rug is pulled out from underneath us. And Jim Rohn has a quote where he talks about seasons. And so we've been in a winter, and recognizing what the spring is, like really being able to plant. In order to be able to do that, I have to know where I am. So I brought a picture for you. This is a map. Oh, you can't see it. Okay, imagine a map. So the reason you want to imagine the map is, this is a visual that I use, is that if you want, and this is a quote from Norman Vincent Peale, if you want to get somewhere, you have to know where you want to go and in order to get there. So if you spend your life pretending that you don't have a challenge or something that is not bothering you, then you don't really know where you are on your map. And so you can't really get to where you want to go, because you're coming from the wrong direction. So if you're in New York and you're actually pretending you're in California and you want to go to Mexico, you're going to go the wrong way. I love that metaphor. It's that life map metaphor. And so, the purpose of an inventory, as I look at it today, is to figure out why I'm unhappy. COVID, family, job, mind, health, kind of come to mind. And there's a few requirements. One is that I be brutally honest. And the other is, for obvious, what I just stated. And then to be open-minded, to let go of all past history, all experiences, all belief. And basically, even so open-minded that you get past yourself. And many of us have had good advisors. And of course, that's what a good advisor does for us, is it helps us get past ourselves. And then also the other requirements are willingness, being resourceful to a fault, I find is kind of what really helps me. Faith is also a requirement, believing in a new, clearer understanding of your life. A positive force where you can see good things. And then also, I think the other requirement is not to take the inventory from the outside. So a lot of times what happens is that we take the inventory from the outside. So I recommend that people visualize all the people you know in your life going away for a vacation for a full year. They're not even around. And then sit down with yourself and ask yourself what's really going on, right? So trust your gut and know when something doesn't feel right. We all have blind spots where we don't see or recognize what it is. And one of the things that I've discovered too is that if there's something that I want to dismiss, that's probably the problem. And so, what are my attitudes and my actions? So I have, I think was thinking, oh, I'm not going to have any material here. And I end up having like all these. So I have a list of like, 10 or so different types of inventory. There's a lot of kinds of inventory.
Oh,
So
great.
Is that okay? All right. So I'll just go through them. Okay. So there's a moral inventory, and it's, the 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, anger, and sloth. And those are helpful because if you are not aware that you're sort of practicing a bad habit, it's not to judge yourself, but if you're not aware that you're practicing. So for instance, these are natural instincts, but if you're just taking them too far, like all the time, you go out of the house and all you do is notice how everyone else has a better home. You're going through the day, you're just living in envy, right? That's very unhealthy for you and everybody around you. Okay. And then there's an emotional inventory. Do you know what you're feeling? And are you trying to avoid your feelings? There's a psychological personality test you can do as well. And there's also a personality inventory you could do for a career type thing. It's like a self-assessment, like what kind of a person am I? You can do a personal health inventory. And then the one that I was going to kind of go into was the personal history. And the personal history, these are great questions if you can write quickly. Let's see what the first one was. Let's see. Okay. One, what are some of the significant events in your life? And what was your part in those events? How are you responsible for how your life turned out? What are your relationship problems and how did you react to them? What kinds of relationships have you had with other people? Have you behaved in your, not have you behaved in your relationships? How have you behaved in your relationships? What are your innermost feelings and basic attitudes towards life? What role have you played in the shaping of your life? Who do you resent and why? What is your part in the resentment? Were your expectations too high? It's okay for me to be human, but it's not okay for you to be human. I can make mistakes, but you can't. Like, that's not allowed. How can I begin to take responsibility for my own life? And what resources are available to me? And how can I begin moving towards resolution of my challenges? And then.
So I have a question, Caroline.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm hearing those questions, and I'm getting more and more depressed and beating myself up. So, and there's almost, I know I've taken inventories, and I'll do anything than actually sit down and look at that. So can you talk more about those questions and like why it's important to actually go into those questions? And
okay.
Yeah, I know that you're probably headed that direction about the.
That's the next. Yeah, that's the next thing.
Oh,
but
good,
it's
good,
not.
Tell me more.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
the next thing. And then I can probably. I'm not going specifically necessarily into those, but I can do that later. Let me just finish with my results. Okay, so my results of letting other people in, writing all of these answers down. I feel great because I'm addressing what has been holding me back. Mm-hmm. I no longer travel with a pebble in my shoe, pretending it's not there. I feel more confident when I face the challenges that aren't fun because I've learned to overcome difficult issues. So initially when I was younger, I looked at these challenges and I thought, oh, this is just not fun and I don't want to be doing this. But now I look at it as an opportunity because I've learned to adapt and to realize, like, I found out I can handle anything, which is really amazing, right? It's really amazing. Here's a good one. I stopped blaming people and circumstances for how I feel and instead imagine my choices.
Oh,
I feel better about my life when I take a nightly positive inventory right before I fall asleep. I ask myself, what went well today? And what did I do well today? So I've learned that as a result of all these negative, as you looked at them, negative questions, to really get down into being in the moment, that living my life in sort of 24-hour segments is really helpful. So I don't go way off into the past. I don't live in the past anymore, and I don't spend time in the future anymore. I'm emotionally right here. And so that's why I don't get depressed. Is because, yeah, because if I ride that train or I ride the other airplane, I'm gonna be hurting myself, right? I can't do anything about the past and I can't do anything about the future. So there's no sense in trying. Really can't do anything about it. There's another really cool inventory that I do. By taking a thought life inventory, I can measure what percentage of my thought life is spent on specific things.
uh-huh.
And so, you know, if I'm bogged down in negative thoughts, selfish thoughts, resentful thoughts, fearful thoughts, I can turn that around as a result of an inventory. So let's say, for instance, I have these health issues, and I get all negative about it. And I project all these terrible things are going to be happening to me, right? And I can look at that and I can say, well, isn't that negative? Like, who's to say? Who's to say? Like, how can I know that I'm not going to be okay? How can I know that that everyone's going to leave me? And because when we project, we always project negatively,
Mm-hmm.
right? We never project. Rarely do we ever project positively. Tomorrow is a new day, and I can always start over and learn to practice a more positive, selfless, giving, and trustful way of thinking. So open-mindedness is the key. As far as these specific things, I'll just go down these questions. What kind of relationships have you had with other people? So as a result of looking at my relationships with other people, I've discovered that I don't want to be the person I used to be. And I want to have more open relationships, more trusting relationships. And so I made that decision. How have you behaved in your relationships? Well, I behave pretty well in my relationships now, but I didn't used to tell people what was going on. I never would tell anyone what was going on. I was very closed off. What role have you played in shaping your life? So you can look at that as a negative or a positive, right? You're here today. So you definitely are playing a positive role in your life, being open to new ideas. Who do I resent and why? I mean, the only purpose for that question is to really recognize for me that the people that I'm resenting are, in fact, the people that I least appreciate. So why am I spending my time on them? Like, I want to be spending time loving the people that love me. And I want to have a very happy and healthy relationship with the people that are close to me. And so spending time on people that are frankly not worth my time. I now look at it that way, that the people that hurt me in the past are not worth my energy and my time because I don't have much time, right? So I don't have, like, I'm not going to live forever. So I really want to make each moment count. How have you begun to take responsibility for your life? So that's actually a positive lead in. It's just sort of, that's that positive inventory. Notice how you are looking for answers, you are being creative, you are trying new things. There's a lot of things that you do each day that are good. How do you think about other people? What have you done to help someone today? And then the last one was, what resources are available to you and how can you begin moving towards the resolution of your challenges? It's not really that difficult. The whole thing seems really difficult, but it's really not. If you just ask yourself, what's bugging you? Yeah. Right? I took a walk, Judy and I talked, and I took a walk, and she had just taken a walk, and I was taking a walk, and I was thinking about that, how really all it is just knowing what is the one thing that's really, got me. and how am I letting that go? What do I need to do to let that go? And what resources can I use? Is it, I have 2 personal coaches now, apparently. I'm thinking about becoming a personal coach myself. And, how do you, how am I going to be willing, I have to find someone who knows how to do that, right? Whatever that problem is that I have. And so I guess that's it.
I love that we had texted earlier, and then I realized, oh, I have like a different perception of like, oh, you're preparing for something and I'm just sitting back and listening, right? So it's like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, what's bugging me today? Well, the weather, come on, we're dodging thunderstorms. I'm supposed to be out there, da 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 da. And it's like that old thing. I like that external. I love what you said, that external inventory. And I'm looking around like, oh. And I have this children's book that well, I don't know where I put it, but it's called Crying is Like the Rain. And I realized that I will do anything to avoid crying.
Okay.
And inventory work is like, okay, there's crying involved. And then I read this children's book about, and it just goes so good into what's going on, at least in the Austin area, that there's thunderstorms. There was a little bit of lightning yesterday. Oh, there's, this and that. And it was so good because it's important to do this to see the rainbows.
Right.
And it's one thing for me to talk about it, and it's another thing to take action and actually do it. So how about a little bit of like, I know you've worked with different people, but where is the, and this is an action step, we could talk, sometimes I love to talk about things and not take action, but
I think it's very critical to have an active gratitude list while you're doing this type of thing. You have to have that because you can go down a negative, you can go down a rabbit hole real quick. And some people are more vulnerable to that, right? So those people need to have, like, I would say, have a gratitude list right in front of them while they're doing an inventory. And look at that, because the thing is that you're not your negative and you're not your positive. You're a composite. It's almost like you're a circle, right? So you have your fear and you have your faith, right? You have your greed and you have your generosity. You have your love and your hate. And so you're just like this full spectrum circle. And that's how I like to see myself, is that I'm capable of all things, but I'm a little bit of everything. And so that's okay, right?
Great. I have another question for you. I have been lately I've been listening to and in parents, okay, who are like having these teenagers who are graduating, they're getting ready to let them go. And there's like this release thing. So where would an inventory fit in there for maybe something that could be more positive rather than a blow up? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, listing the good things that can come from letting your kids grow up. So I do a lot of lists. So, what's the advantage of letting go of your children moving on into life? One is, you were a successful parent. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do, right? And then on the negative side, what's the negative of holding on to it? And do I really want to go there? So I spent at least 3 years there, right? I mean, I definitely did. There's no doubt about it. Because I perceived one of my children as having more challenges than the other. And so I was like, I need to fix this problem. I need to get in there. But what I realized was that it was actually my behavior, my transmitting to him the idea that he couldn't handle it, that was the problem. I needed to instill in him the concept that he can handle it and that he can just use us as resources and that we're always here for him and to stay present in his life on a daily basis and to let him make the mistakes. That's the big key. So,
So
and they
I
said,
know I was just, I know you can speak from that parent standpoint,
huh?
and you said it was like a 3-year thing, right?
Oh yeah, it took a while.
With a lot of help, uh, and yeah, congratulations for being on the other side. By the way, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it gets tiring. I think, when you're getting tired of something and it's just kind of you're not making any headway with it. That to me is an indication that I need to talk to somebody and I need to find someone who's dealt with this problem before. I don't even like to use the word problem. I think I like the word challenge. That this is
Opportunity for
Yeah,
growth,
this is a
right?
challenge that millions of people before us have dealt with. They've all had the same emotions I'm having. This is nothing new.
So when you're doing an inventory, do you ever get into that feeling of blaming yourself or shaming yourself? And
I
if
can
so, like, how do you? What
Okay.
have you done to?
Okay.
Yeah, tell me more.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I do is I ask myself if I did the best I could at the time with what I had. And that is very, very powerful because what I've noticed is that certainly I've made a huge amount of mistakes, but that when I look at it that way, like I couldn't have done any better. I just didn't have any tools. And so I'm very forgiving of myself that way. I am, however, a recovering perfectionist. So, and the way that I deal with that is by practicing imperfection.
Oh,
When
how do you do that?
Yeah, well, so for instance, this is a good example. I mean, I could have done like, you mentioned that I could have done a whole screen and I could have sent you a thing and done like a presentation or whatever. And I could have spent a few days on it and I really didn't. I only spent maybe a few hours on it. And so that's me practicing imperfection, that I'm trusting that the message that I have, whatever message I'm supposed to be giving, I'm trusting that it's going to get out there to whoever is looking for it, right?
Right. Oh, gold nugget there. Bing, bing. Bing,
Ding, 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 ding.
bing, bing, bing. I know. Sometimes I love the fact that I could look back on the videos and different things and go back to the beginning and go, oh man, you know what I mean? Or what was I thinking? And
Yeah.
it is, oh, I know. And one more question. Is, because you touched on it, is forgiveness work a piece of the inventory after? Or, where does forgiveness come into this
Okay.
piece? Yeah.
Well, we all have different characteristics, and forgiveness is one of them, and non-forgiveness is another one. And so if you there's like a full list that I have. I have like 50 characteristics. So so your power is in practicing forgiveness. And if you want to lose your power, then you allow yourself to continue to practice unforgiveness. And I did that with my neighbors last year.
Oh,
So, but it took me a while. Like it used to take me years to figure this kind of thing out, but now it takes me kind of weeks to figure it out. Like, oh, I'm thinking about them a lot. They did this thing, and that's what I'm thinking about today. And is that a resentment? Am I not forgiving? I am not forgiving them because I am right. They are wrong. I am right. Okay, let's tell everyone. I want everyone in the whole world to know I am right and they are wrong. And so then I had to get to the other place where, for me personally, I've learned to take the high road. Is this really who I want to be? Someone who's griping about wrongs done to me. And, I spent a big part of my life there, a huge part of my life there. And I want to be happy, joyous, and free. And I don't want to give my power away to people anymore. I just refuse to do that. So once I realized, it took me a minute to realize it because I do that inventory. Like, oh, I'm giving them my power because I'm thinking about them.
so that's one. There's that you touched on that nightly inventory, and
Mhm.
I find my nightly inventory recently has been going back and man, that was awesome today. The pot. You
The
said it
positive.
a real quick nightly positive inventory, and then there's that part in what I've learned. and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
Uh-huh.
And those are like, oh man, I messed up there. And I love that part because sometimes it takes picking up the phone or text like, man, I am so sorry. And has to do with my children, right? My
Okay.
adult children. Oh man, I'm sorry I stepped on your toes, or like, and they've gotten my kids have grown up with me doing that, and I noticed when I needed to do it is when they shut me off for a while,
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes.
right,
Yeah,
and they like
exactly.
go, oh,
Yeah.
naughty. I'm like, okay, all right. Um, but you know what? I do like it though too that I've given myself permission to give people space, especially my kids, and to keep going on with my life. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
So when you saw them putting that up, that they're not answering the phone or they're not communicating as much, that's that question of, how am I feeling? Right. Sort of knowing like you're feeling sort of hurt that something happened and that you want to figure out what the problem is. When I do my nightly inventory, I do not examine my day in terms of any mistakes I've made
oh,
at all. I don't believe in it. I do it all through the day. So because I have health issues that require me to get excellent sleep. I get 8 hours of sleep every night nonstop. I have to. And so I found that if I have something negative to think about before I go to bed, then I'm not restful. So, and then the other thing that I do is I put down a piece of paper next to my bed with a pen. And so if I have any ideas, I write them down like, oh, I have to worry about my son, write that down. Or, oh, I have to make an amends, or, I have to call someone and apologize. I write that down. And so then I set it aside. And so then I can just go to sleep. And when I wake up, it's there for me to address, because I can't call anyone while I'm sleeping.
oh, great, great, great. That is so good. So keep a pen and paper beside your bed, right?
Yep.
And then awesome. Oh, this is such good. Man, what good nuggets.
We could
Well,
do another one on sleep.
yes, we definitely have to do a sleep one. So what I would want to, we're getting ready to wrap up, but I'm just like so full. We definitely have to have you come back, but I wanted to ask you, this is one thing that we do at the end is our group of paradigm shifters, um, what we love to ask you as taking your time out to do this, what would you love to have us hold for you personally, where we could keep you and uplift you and all of the different awesome things you're doing in your life? What would you like to have us hold? What would you love to have us hold for you?
Well, my initial thought is to go towards, awareness of people with rare genetic conditions and health issues and things like that. But that's kind of about me. So I think I would ask that you do a random act of kindness. I think that's what I would ask for somebody, anybody. Open the door, smile at somebody, drop something off, leave flowers at your neighbor's house. Just do something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, make the world a better place.
there you go. Well, we'll
Right?
definitely
Yeah.
do that. All right. Well, here we go. So here we go. We're going to put some energy. This is like going all the way to Austin, Texas, right? We're going to give you some energy, Caroline, and you get to receive it. Thank you so much for being here. There you
Thank
go.
you. Whee!
Yay.
Got it.
Yes, and that is such a wrap, and so appreciate this important topic that you came to talk to us for. Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you for the
much.
opportunity.
Amen.
Appreciate it. Nice to see you, Carol.
There you go. Oh, don't leave yet.